Let's go back to the president in Doral, Florida.
But the shutdown doesn't allow us to do what we have to do.
Do you have to take him out? Does he have a target on his back?
You mean the new supreme leader? You mean the son?
How can there be an Iran with
Well,
another
I don't want
Ayatollah?
to say that, but you know, I was disappointed because we think it's going to lead to just more of the same problem for the country. So I was disappointed to see their choice.
Thank you, sir. You've said you have someone in mind to be the new Iranian leadership, if not the Ayatollah's son. What are you looking for in that person? Are you looking at someone internal, given that you just said that their leadership has been decimated?
I like the
and
idea
wiped
of,
out?
internal and eternal, come to think of it. But I like the idea of internal because it works well. I mean, I think we've proven that so far in Venezuela. We have a woman, Delcy, who has been, president of the country, very respected, she's doing a great job. And it's, no disruption. We had, as you remember, Iraq, where everybody got fired. The military got fired, the police got fired, the politicians got fired. There was nobody. And you know what they turned into? ISIS. And we don't want that. We don't want that. So I would like to see people that are inside go. Now, they talk about the son of the Shah. They talk about other people. But, hasn't been there in many, many years. We have a formula that's been very good so far, and I think it'll continue to be good. The relationship is extraordinary with Venezuela, smart country. We've taken out 100 million barrels of oil. It's right now in Houston being taken care of and made so beautiful. And you have to see this at work. They have, it's brought to the refineries. It's being refined in Houston, which is made exactly for that product. And so far, but it's 100 million barrels of oil, and now they have another 100 million barrels coming. And it's like a partnership. We're getting along so well with them. It's great for Venezuela, and it's great for the United States. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. President. You just suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation. But Tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous other nations have Tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report. Yeah, please.
You said earlier that we've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough. What do you consider enough? What's your baseline?
Where they're not going to be starting the following day to develop a nuclear weapon. Where they'll look at that man and some other people from the administration and say, all right, we're not going to do it. They were not willing to say that. And when Steve called up and he said that to me, I said, well, here we go. Let's do it the hard way. But the hard way, I think, is probably the easy way. When basically I can see that they will no longer have any capacity whatsoever for a very long period of time of developing weaponry that could be used against the United States, Israel, or any of our allies. We have great allies in the Middle East, great countries that are allies. And they were staying out of it until they got hit. Someday they'll have to do a story. Why did he do that? Why did they do that? But they were going to hit them. If I didn't hit them first, they were going to hit our allies first. I believe, upon information and belief, but I believe that he was going to, they were going to take over the Middle East. They were looking to take over the Middle East. Now, had Operation Midnight Hammer not taken place, that was definite, because they would have had a nuclear weapon within a matter of weeks. But that took place. That was a setback. But look at the number of missiles they were able to buy and make over the last 6 months. And those missiles were aimed at various countries. And when you look at over 1,000 missiles shot at like UAE, they were looking to take over the Middle East. We got there first. We're lucky. I'll tell you what, the Middle East and those countries, very rich countries, are very lucky that I was president instead of somebody else.
vice president when it comes to U.S. action in Iran?
I don't think so, no. No, we get along very well on this. He was, I would say, philosophically a little bit different than me. I think he was maybe less enthusiastic about going, but he was quite enthusiastic. But I felt it was something we had to do. I didn't feel we had a choice. If we didn't do it, they would have done it to us. I felt, based on the negotiations that were being had by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and Marco and Pete and everybody was involved, I felt that they were looking to tap us along before they hit, and I thought they were going to hit. And if they hit us first, that would have been a very bad thing. In the back, please, in the back. About the strait, you mean? Yeah, well, I want to keep it open. I want to keep it good. You know, it doesn't pertain to us so much as it does to China. We're really helping China here and other countries because they get a lot of their energy from the straits. But, hey, look, we have a good relationship with China. It's my honor to do it. Yeah.
You have called him an unacceptable choice. So does he have a target on his back? And how can you say
I don't want to say whether or not he does because that would be inappropriate. But, hey, look, I had a target on my back because, as you people wrote pretty well, they caught the assassin that was after me. So we just got them first. But they caught the assassin. They have him now in custody that was after me. So, you know, but people don't like to mention that, but they did catch him. And I'd like to congratulate our military, Secret Service, FBI, all of the people that worked on that, but they did. Yeah, please. Go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You promised the Iranian people you would help them, but it sounds like you're willing to end this fight after your military objectives have wrapped up. Isn't that a betrayal of the people?
Will I help them? I'd like to, if they can behave, but they've been very menacing. You know, they're great people. They have an amazing population. It's amazing, smart, brilliant, energetic. They have a great, I'd love to help them, but they have to be in a system that allows them to be helped. And right now they're in a system that only allows failure. And I don't want that. And I want a system that's not going to be attacking us. We want a system that can lead to many years of peace. And if we can't have that, we might as well get it over with right now. Yeah, please.
President, as of today, there have been 8 U.S. military fatalities associated with the war in Iran. How many American deaths are you willing to have in this war?
Well, as I said before, when you have conflicts like this, you always have death. And I was at Dover yesterday. I met the parents, and they were unbelievable people. They were unbelievable people, but they all had one thing in common. They said to me one thing, every single one, finish the job, sir. Please finish the job. And I'll leave you at that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
You've been listening to President Trump give updates on the war in Iran. He says he is disappointed in Iran's new choice of leadership, the former Supreme Leader's son, Mojtaba Khamenei. President Trump would not go as far as to say he would take military action to remove him from power. When he was directly asked, would you say he has a target on his back, he said it would be inappropriate to say that, as the U.S. and Israel did with Ayatollah Ali Khamenei at the start of the war. He touted the military action in Iran. He said the U.S. is far ahead of schedule and has decimated much of Iran's military and capabilities. He said, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had the mind to attack us. He also called the operation an excursion multiple times. And when it came to climbing oil prices, he said he knew they would climb. He said, I think they've gone up less than I thought they would. The president was asked, when will this end? Weeks? He said no. Days? He said no. He was asked, is it very complete, which is what you told our own Wee Jiang today, or just the beginning, which is what we have heard from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth a couple of days ago? The president said you could say both. This is the beginning of a new country. They have no Navy, no Air Force, no equipment, no leadership. He said, as I leave here, I could call it a tremendous success, or we could go further, and we'll go further. Let's go ahead and go now. Do we have Nikole Killion? Nikole, there you are, because you are there in Doral. As this was wrapping up, you asked the first question to the president. What more should we know?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I did ask the president about Iran's new supreme leader. He responded a little later in the press conference, but I also asked him about a call that we just learned about late today that he had with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He said that it was actually quite a constructive conversation, that he said that Russia actually wants to be helpful in the Middle East. And he said that they also talked about the situation in Ukraine, with the president saying, well, he thinks that Russia can be more helpful in trying to end that war as well. But that, of course, one of many topics that came up. Obviously, this was very focused on Iran and the ongoing conflict overseas. The president saying that he believes they are well ahead of schedule in terms of the ongoing operation on the ground, though still not committing to a firm timetable in terms of how much longer this war may last, and also not really giving a timetable for energy prices and when those might start to come down. He did say that, this is artificial and that this was something that he anticipated, but he didn't give a lot of specifics about potentially how long it could take before we see the price of oil come down, before we see the price of gas come down, which, of course, has been top of mind, especially for a lot of folks out there who may be filling up their tanks. The president, of course, also talking about Iran's new supreme leader, calling it a disappointing choice or a disappointing decision. He didn't really, I would say he was relatively tight-lipped on that, because prior to this press conference, of course, we had only heard his general takeaways from this new announcement of the Iranian supreme leader, with him saying that he was not very happy with the decision. And again, just now saying that he was disappointed, but really not elaborating on why or specifying whether there may be a target on his back. You heard him say, well, there was a target on my back. People were coming after me in terms of some of the assassination attempts that he has faced. But overall, this was an opportunity for the president to really tout what he believes are successes on the battlefield, and also threatening to potentially hit Iran even harder if they don't start to relent. He talked about knocking out a number of military assets, the Army, the Navy, telecommunications systems. He also talked about potentially even targeting electricity systems or something along those lines with respect to electricity and that type of infrastructure. But really his main objective here, which he reiterated, is making sure that Iran is not able to get a nuclear weapon. He talked about when he came down that escalator when he was running for president the first time, and saying that he doesn't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. And he explained that he is just trying to fulfill his promise a decade later. So that remains the chief objective in his view in terms of what success looks like, what ending this war looks like. I know he told our Wee Jing earlier today that he believes that the war is almost completely over. I'm paraphrasing what he told her. But that being said, again, no firm timetable, though, in terms of how long this military action could last. Lindsay.
Do you have any indication of why he decided to give this press conference tonight, 10 days in?
Well, look, obviously we in the press welcome the opportunity to ask questions, because certainly there were a lot of them. The last time we heard from the president was aboard Air Force One as he was returning from that dignified transfer at Dover Air Base with those 6 U.S. service members who were killed, coming back here to Doral. But obviously, the markets have been top of mind for a lot of people today. We have seen this roller coaster where, stocks were down by triple digits, and then they ultimately recovered. But there is a lot of concern out there in terms of these spiking oil prices, in terms of the spiking gas prices, and in terms of what the president's next steps are, what the end game is here. That is something that we have heard from both sides of the aisle, quite frankly, since this conflict began more than a week ago. So this really was an opportunity for the president. I mean, obviously the president decides what he wants to do when he wants to do it. So he actually announced this press conference on Truth Social earlier today. Of course, he was here for a number of other different events, most notably addressing House Republicans at their annual retreat, where he also touched on what was happening in Iran, in addition to talking about domestic policy and legislation that he would like to see House Republicans prioritize and pass ahead of the midterms. And then, of course, over the weekend, we were also here with the president as he addressed Latin American leaders for this Shield of the Americas summit, which was aimed at countering narco-terrorism and countering cartels. And so a proclamation was signed at that event. So a lot on the president's agenda, but he did feel that it was important to address the press, and that's what you saw this afternoon.
Nikole Killion, thank you. Let's bring in CBS News national security contributor Joe Zacks. He also served as Deputy Assistant Director for Counterterrorism at the CIA. What is your assessment on what we heard from the president?
Well, thank you very much, Lindsay. I think the president got it about right. Look, we are in many ways at the beginning or the end of the beginning of this operation and this confrontation with Iran. We've achieved some spectacular military successes, and that will continue. I think when we get to the point where we can really virtually eliminate Iran's ballistic missile threat, particularly against the Gulf, and the drone threat against the Gulf, and whatever threat there may still exist in the Strait of Hormuz, then I think that there will be an easing of the economic tension that is felt now with respect to the oil prices and with respect to tourism and other economic measures in the Gulf. And that will enable the president and Israel to pursue other objectives in Iran, and those are more aligned with the regime change that will take longer, and also with ensuring that the nuclear issue and the ballistic missile issue is completely or near completely attended to.
I want to ask you about something that the president was asked about. This came up twice there in the press conference, and that is the U.S. assessment that says the U.S. may have hit that Iranian school that led to dozens of deaths, many of them children. And the president saying that just because there was a Tomahawk missile used against the school does not automatically mean it is the U.S.'s fault, because many countries have Tomahawk missiles, including Iran. How extraordinary is it, though, for the president to make that statement with no evidence of fact and in the face of what a current U.S. assessment is saying?
Well, what I appreciated most in what the president said is that there is an investigation underway, and I appreciated the fact that he said that at the end of the day, he will accept the results of the investigation. And prior to my service at the CIA, which was an extensive period of service there, I also had a full career in the U.S. military. And I'm very familiar with the way that the U.S. military conducts these kind of investigations. And they are thorough and they are complete, even in the heat of battle. And so with the president saying that he will accept the results of the investigation, I think that's the most encouraging statement, and that's the most appropriate statement. And I would personally prefer not to speculate on exactly what happened with respect to that prior to the investigation.
Joe Zacks, thank you for your time.
Thank you.